It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's just go to Morning Joe the other day.
Okay. All right.
You can tell they're not happy at all. I think they know the numbers out there, the early voting numbers, and they're worried. He talks about Trump voters, all right?
All right.
Here we go.
I will ask the question that I think is a fair question to ask. Who raised these people?
Yeah.
Because they were not raised by anybody in my neighborhoods that I grew up, any middle-class neighborhoods that I grew up in. These people were not there. They were not raised. I mean, they weren't in the classes I went to growing up in elementary or middle or high school or college. They just weren't there. That wasn't the America I grew up in, where people would laugh at the idea of people of press getting shot. Like, everybody would sit around and like, what? What's he talking about? Or again, the
laughing at the Puerto Rican
other
joke.
things, laughing at the Puerto Rican joke.
My God,
that Puerto Ricans are a pile of trash. Are laughing at a 83-year-old man being bludgeoned nearly to death. That's an applause line. That's a laugh line. Again, who are these people? Where are they coming from, and who raised them, and how did Donald Trump twist their point of view so much in 9 years that the brutalization of an 83-year-old man is something to laugh about, or the shooting of press members is an applause line?
Yeah, laughs and cheers when Trump suggested the press should be shot. And my friend, the legendary photographer at the AP, Evan Vucci, who's traveling with the Trump campaign here, says that as each rally goes on, particularly last night in Georgia, the threats from the crowd to the press, they're there in the arena, only growing. They're really concerned there about the security situation. And that's...
There's no threats there.
Yeah, that's garbage.
There's no threats. There may be jokes.
It's garbage.
From the guy who got shot.
Yeah, it's garbage. It is garbage. And but this is what they have to create. It's the fear mongering. And I'll tell you who the people are, Joe Scarborough. They're the people of America who are done with the radical behavior of the left, the party that the side that you clearly are on and likely have been on all along.
Well, we look at things and say, clearly they were joking. When Trump says that, he's joking. We all know he's joking. Maybe a poor joke, but he's joking. Understand that Morning Joe and the people on his show are all for children being able to cut off their private parts without their parents being told about it.
Yep.
Understand that they are for the incredible mass suffering on both sides of illegal immigration, where over 300,000 children have gone missing inside the United States. They're for that.
Yep. I didn't grow up with anybody who was for the children deciding their own genital mutilation.
No, neither did I. That wasn't in my neighborhood.
Nope. I don't know who raised those people. Why don't you tell me that, Joe Scarborough?
Oh, my neighborhood, my neighborhood, a very, very moral neighborhood, but the adults told blue jokes and every kind of joke known to mankind because they were jokes.
Yeah.
You're talking about your support for incredibly perverted behavior is what Scarborough is about.
Yep.
And the misogyny of the liberal transgender movement. And you're upset about people jokingly saying stuff, and they are jokes when they say that. Complete jokes when they say that. But you're okay with the identity politics racism of the Democratic Party. You're okay with the misogyny of the radical transgender movement
Yep.
and the bullying and the threats, the threatening of women, of college-age women, because they object to a man competing against them and being part of their private space. That's what Morning Joe is about.
Yep.
So like I said, we've always said, yeah, you go after Trump for his words or his jokes that may be off color, that may be, he didn't tell the Puerto Rican joke. And as Michael Schellenberger said, that was not a joke of ethnicity.
No.
That was a joke about the actual garbage problem in Puerto Rico, he said, that has been very well established. And he put out the number of articles going, that's where he got it from.
Right.
It's about the garbage problem that they have on Puerto Rico.
Right.
Which is why he said an island. He didn't say the people.
No.
He said the island. May have been a poor joke because of the problem, because part of it's been made worse from the hurricanes that have hit, but it was in relation to actual garbage, not calling the people garbage.
Right.
Now, you may say, well, why even touch that area? I agree with you.
I don't know why you have Tony Hinchcliffe at a Trump rally, actually.
Right. But you're talking, again, about things people say. We're talking about things that you support people doing.
What they're fighting to actually do, what they're legally battling to do.
Yes.
And these aren't small things. It's not a bad joke in poor taste. These are actions that will take control of people's lives and eventually take control of a society if we allow it. That's what today is about. That's exactly what today is about.
Yeah,
We either say no and no more, or we say yep and keep it coming.
So, Joe, we'll have the argument about the perverted neighborhood that you apparently grew up in and the perverted people that influenced you to promote the perversions that you seem to believe is mainstream in the American public. And you're nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Need to look back in your history and see if you had any neighbors named Epstein.
But the insanity. All right, we got to play this here, okay? I want to play this because we're going to be doing election stuff, and I got to play the Peanut interview with Mark Longo that Chris Cuomo did on News Nation. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. This is just the most bizarre thing. And the thing you can't see is they're showing the video of Peanut the Squirrel playing.
Mm-hmm.
But here we go. All right.
This sucks. How are you taking it?
Mr. Cuomo, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me on the show. What happened today and what transpired throughout this week has been nothing short of a tragedy and a disgrace to the New York State. 2 days ago, 10 to 15 DEC officers raided my home for a raccoon and a squirrel. We used resources from this state to kill a squirrel and raccoon and raid my house as if I was a drug dealer. We have resources to kill a raccoon and a squirrel, but we can't fix the major bridges down the street.
Who do you think dimed you out on this? Who do you think, Mark? Who, like they said, for rabies? I mean, I looked up when I heard about this. You know, I had seen your videos, by the way. My senior producer, Jonathan, called me about it, but I had seen it. People love it. I mean, you know, it's one of the good things about social media. I mean, you did a great job with this animal. So I look up rabies, and they're pretty severe symptoms and demonstrations of behavior. Couldn't they have just observed the squirrel and the raccoon and said, well, they don't look rabid? And who told them that they might be rabid?
Sir, there's a quarantine period that is supposed to be happening. We did not hear from the DEC. We didn't even get a statement from the DEC. We heard it from another news station that they killed Peanut. Since they left my house, not a single DEC employee or state official even called me to tell me what happened. They came into my house. They even asked my wife for immigration status. They asked me if I had cameras in my house. They got local sheriffs to approve this. The DA approved this. They had a criminal judge sign a search warrant to come and take these animals. The woman who claimed, or the member who claimed to get bitten, everybody around here wore gloves. These are professionals who deal with animals on a daily basis, and you're going to tell me you got bit by a squirrel? None of this transpired. This was somebody out to get me. We moved to a small town to start a nonprofit animal rescue called Peanut's Freedom Farm. We understood that this internet sensation was a wave, and we wanted to turn it into something great, so we moved to New York from Connecticut. We moved here last April, and we started a nonprofit and have rescued over 300 animals, all in the name of Peanut. Peanut is the center of our organization. I used his social media to gather the funding to continue to help animals. And the DEC comes in here. They wouldn't even allow me to feed my horses who have been coming from neglected cases. They spent 5 hours taking apart my house for a squirrel and a raccoon. So I need an explanation as to why this state can find the funding to bring this many people to my house to destroy my life, but we can't fix major issues that we're having in this state.
Listen, I get it, but I don't think you need the alternative argument, to be honest, about like what we're not doing. This is just a really messed up thing. And you know, I know it's a squirrel, but this is a squirrel the way I have dogs, you know, as far as you're concerned. Now, I get it. Maybe the law doesn't treat them the same way. That goes to the second point, which is this what we needed to do? Look, here's what I can do. Mark, I give you an...
And he said he'd personally help him fundraise. Not for News Nation, but that's where they got into.
All right.
Yeah, because that story, when I saw it yesterday or the day before, I just went, something doesn't seem right here.
Yeah, it didn't add up.
And I still have they responded from New York State? I haven't seen any response from New York State in any story at all.
No, not at all.
The memes on it the last couple of days,
yeah,
relentless.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, you know,
really
it's one more story in government overreach. You know, even though it's state government, it has been, you know, once again, and I think the comparison, you know, if you need an alternative argument, as Cuomo brings up, look, I don't think you do. But if you did, a lot of people on social media were saying, well, wait a minute. We have an illegal immigrant problem that's through the roof. Yet we're going to pare it down to a raccoon and a squirrel. Yeah. That's what we're going to spend our resources on. That's insane.
Yeah, it is. It's just
that's insane.
And what was the purpose of? Did he not have a license?
To
have the other animals there? Is it a zoning? Well, it can't be a zoning because that would be a local thing.
That would be a local thing,
right?
Right.
You're bringing the state in.
What state laws apply here? I mean, all these questions need to be answered.
And
what state law did he break?
And is the crime for the warrant having the squirrel and raccoon inside the house?
I guess so. Maybe not following, you know, the proper protocol according to the law. But I haven't seen anywhere where they posted where they've responded and said this was the law that he broke or the laws that he broke.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Did those big rains in the very dry winter wheat country help or hurt that crop?
I think it'll take another week to get a real reflection, a real impact on just how much this rain is going to mean to this winter wheat crop.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says the crop went into last week behind its normal pace in planting and emergence and went in very poor condition with almost a quarter of the crop rated poor to very poor. In fact,
these early season condition numbers, week 1 and week 2 for the autumn season, are the second lowest of the 21st century to date.
In some states like Oklahoma and Texas, the condition ratings are much worse than the national average.
I think these numbers will start to bounce back in a week or two. We will just have to wait and see.
This is Gary Crawford reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We'll have some of the specific numbers coming up following the bottom of the hour. And plus, one of the speakers yesterday at one of the Trump rallies. Meanwhile, this was President Trump last night.
This has been an incredible journey, and it's very sad in a way because, we've done all these, and this is the last one. But here's the good news. All we were doing is putting ourselves in a position to win, which we can do tomorrow very easily if we show up. Just so you know, if we show up, they can't win. They can't. They mathematically can't win.
There you go. I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see the inside polling from that both campaigns have, the specific polling that they they have there.
It makes me wonder because there were a couple of things that he said and a couple of his surrogates said yesterday that had me wondering, are they actually concerned about turnout for Tuesday, or which means they were concerned about the numbers of early voting, or are they doing what we said, you always campaign like you're 20 points behind, you don't take it as a given, and early voter turnout was good, it was okay, but it really is going to depend on people voting and getting out there on Tuesday, which typically is the case for the GOP. I mean, that's going to, be how it plays out. So maybe it was just a safe bet of, look, and that's the way you would want to play it. But when I heard it a couple of times, or probably 3 or 4 times yesterday, I thought to myself, all right, I don't know that they're necessarily concerned about voter turnout in the way that they're worried it will be low. I mean, it was Hoover, the analyst, that said it the other day. She's a not holdover, but she was a analyst during the Bush years and a Republican. And I don't know what she said is actually, coming to fruition or not, whether they're actually very worried about it or they're just acting again as if, look, nothing is given. We're just going to campaign the way we should be campaigning, and we're going to work for it till the end.
I think what I sense is happening is they couldn't believe that the early voting numbers were so good.
Right.
And so it's like that automatic reaction. Okay, that's that, but that is an election day. We need to double down. And look, they made that decision. Trump made that decision. Yep. And he said it. I don't know if he said 20 points behind, but it's what we've always said. You always campaign as if you're 20 points behind.
Yep.
And, man, they have done that big time. But we'll have some of those numbers. But I think they saw the numbers, and they were shocked, I think, by the early voting numbers.
Right.
And you look at Pennsylvania, for example, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow, you got to be kidding me. This may not be that hard to win just based on the early voting numbers. And they just said, okay, set that aside. Okay, that's fine. Mm-hmm. Let's just double down and pushing people, make sure we get the turnout that we need on election day. That's what I think happened.
One of the problems maybe if it turns out that there's this huge disparity in the polls and people saying they were going to vote for Harris but actually don't show up and do the deed, if that turns out to be the case, you got to blame the social media mentality that is very, very much alive on the left, and that is, well, I clicked the like button. That's enough to say that I did it, right? I can be a social media hero, and the social justice warrior approach of, well, I clicked the like button, I gave it a thumbs up, I sent an emoji. I mean, that's a lot of people kind of think that way, and it's, well, nobody will know if I actually didn't go because I'm not really that enthusiastic about her. I'm just going to tell people, yeah, I'm voting for her so I can just get away with it and get on with my life. We'll see what happens.
It's interesting, a new concept, social media enthusiasm.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that may be mistaken for election enthusiasm.
Right.
Observing and analyzing the insanity. Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Nightly on Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you want to.
And thank you.
All right, so the polls are done. We went over them very briefly. The most accurate pollster, Atlas Intel, putting out their numbers. Trump wins, and wins pretty big from the most accurate pollster. From the other most accurate pollsters, Trump wins also there, too. The other polls that you can look at a number of different polls out there that didn't rank as high. Some show it'll be very close, and the others show maybe she squeaks out a victory.
Yeah.
But we decided to look at some of the other numbers out there, and this is the early voting numbers. And this came from the Trump campaign, but they said, don't take our word that these numbers are accurate. This is according to the Democratic data expert, Tom Bonnier of Target Smart. Arizona, the urban turnout is down 385,000 votes compared to this point in 2020. Wow. Female turnout is down 170,000. Rural turnout is up 14,000. In Georgia, urban turnout is down 153,000. Female turnout is down 46,000. Rural turnout in Georgia up 171,000. All compared to 2020.
Wow.
In Michigan, urban turnout is down 321,000. Female turnout is down 204,000. Rural turnout is up 55,000, all compared to 2020. In North Carolina, urban turnout is down 175,000 votes. Female turnout is down 154,000 votes. Rural turnout is up 26,000. In Nevada, urban turnout is down 191,000. Female turnout is down 126,000. In Pennsylvania, wow, you see these numbers. Urban turnout is down 381,000 votes. Female turnout is down 450,000.
Wow.
In Wisconsin, urban turnout is down 100,000. Female turnout is down 238,000. And so, you look at these numbers, you see how the campaigns are reacting. You see the polling numbers out there from the most accurate pollsters of 2020. And who knows? They may be wrong. They may not be the most accurate in 2024.
Right.
But you have nothing else. You've got nothing else to go on.
Right.
When you look at on the issues, because here's where we are right now. On the issues, it's landslide number for where Trump stands on the actual issues.
Yeah.
We all know it.
Yeah.
The insanity, the inflation, everything that we see, people blame on the Biden-Harris administration. You also have that. And then you've seen the response from Democrat operatives right now, whether it's on the early voting or wherever voting is going to be today. And for all indicators from what we can see, and especially the mood of the campaign aides out there, it looks like Trump is winning this thing. Hopefully that's the case. Again, you never have any idea. I don't like to compare 2020 or 2016. 2016 maybe consider that a little more than 2020 because 2020 was such an anomaly with COVID and everything else.
Right.
But when you look at the election that mirrors this the most, and we said this, and I saw an article on it, and I went, well, we hit this a month ago, because this really doesn't get enough discussion, is you look at Reagan versus Carter. Reagan won by 10 points.
Yeah.
10!
Yeah.
51-41. And the last Washington Post poll had Carter against Jimmy Carter, had Carter up 4. And I think it was the ABC poll had Reagan up 1. Those are the two last, which means, you take that together and, he's up, Carter was up 2.5 points. That wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Was not even close. And then they were all like, what do we do wrong? What do we do wrong? How did we undercount the Reagan vote? How do we do, and you look at the similarities of the issues. Inflation was huge. Inflation was even going on for a longer period of time than it is right now.
Right.
It was Reagan, when he came in, had to really, raise the rates as they did. My God, what was it? Interest rates, 20%?
Yeah.
Unbelievably
Massive.
high to get that down because of inflation that just wouldn't go away. And so you had that, plus you had Iran and the hostage situation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you compare that to Iran now and the hostage situation in Gaza with Israel and the anti-Semitism? They're different, but the fact is there's a lot of similarities. And if you take on top of that the illegal immigrant situation in this country that has affected more people, and you combine them together, I believe you can take those two, put them together, and then plus take the inflation that you see. Then you get to the radical transgender movement, and these things hit people in their real lives. They really do.
Yeah. Right.
And the anti-Semitism does. I mean, it's all over the place. And so you look at it and you're just like, all right, could it be like 1980?
Well, there are things that are very similar and very core items in terms of, our instinct of basically just going through life every day that are right now disconcerting. All of these things that are broken that need to be fixed go to the core items of survivability.
Yeah.
If you look at the ability to house and feed your family when it comes to inflation. Also, keep your family safe when it comes to rising crime. Also, keep your family safe when it comes to a broken border. Also, the safety of a nation when it comes to national security, the funding of Hamas, the funding of Hezbollah through Iran. All of these things are about and we may not break it down psychologically ourselves, but when you fear for these things, when you fear that you won't be able to afford rent and groceries for your family, it's greatly disconcerting. When you fear that your neighborhood or your city or your region has a rise in violent crime, again, fear for the safety of your family. When you fear that the broken border is bringing on more and more crime, including fentanyl and the rising number, staggering number of fentanyl deaths that happen as they call them accidental overdoses, and we can have a debate about if accidental applies, but the point is that they're doing one drug and not actually doing fentanyl, and it's laced with fentanyl. I have friends and family that are police officers, and they have at different times unsolicitedly told me these stories. And so when you look at that, all of this is greatly disconcerting, and people are, looking for answers. They're looking for a solution. They want all of this to be fixed. Then you add to it the liberal transgender movement that says now your kids should be in charge of deciding whether or not they're going to have mutilation surgery, genital mutilation surgery. And if you disagree with your child, that we believe we should be able to take custody of your child. There's actually conversations about that going on right now. And if you think the conversation will just end, you are flat out wrong.
So today, if Harris wins, we have problems.
Yes, because it says we want to keep going down this path.
Right. And if Trump wins, we still have the problems, but you put a delay on the weaponization of government and lawfare.
Tapping the brakes.
You're tapping the brakes on that. We'll see when it comes to the specific issues what they, might come through with.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've said, that's my number one issue by far.
Yeah.
And not that the other issues aren't important, but the other issues don't matter if the top issue of stopping the weaponization of government and the lawfare, which is the same, by the way, when I say weaponization of government, I mean the lawfare. If that doesn't stop, then none of the others matter.
Right.
You know, you can, if I sat there and said, well, I want to make sure that fiscally, well, I can promote that as much as I want. But the fact is, if the lawfare continues and the weaponization of government continues, that's what you've got to attack. That's where the war is right now. The political war is there. And so, if Trump wins, you're probably talking about the biggest political comeback in American political history.
I think by far the swing. If you think, and I was telling you during one of the breaks earlier, if he wins the popular vote, and a couple of pollsters, Atlas Intel, Rasmussen reports, have shown him, Rasmussen has him ahead by 3 on the national. If he wins the popular vote, now I'm not putting I don't know that he'll do that. But if he does, the swing from where it began and the great level of toxicity was built on lies and stuff that was just made up from the beginning, from the Russian hoax all the way forward to today and the cases against him today, and the weaponization of the DOJ and lawfare, and we have to include 2 assassination attempts in recent months.
And remember, weaponization of government continued with the Department of Justice trying to sue Virginia to stop them from checking to make sure people are citizens that are on the
voter rolls. Yes.
Right. I mean, that's insanity that the Department of Justice is saying, no, we want to defend the lawbreakers.
If he defeats all of that and wins the popular vote, that is a major, that's a history book in and of itself. Forget a chapter in the history. That's an entire book. That will be insane. I'd love to see that happen.
But still, if Trump wins, there's still a ton of problems because you still have roughly half the voters in this country that believe in totally insane ideas.
Well, it's
and behavior of what government should do.
It's like you were able to get all the materials delivered for your project. And now they've been delivered. The work begins now. If he wins, January 20th, the work has to begin, and it has to be fast and furious. There are too many things broken, and a lot of things that have to be done very quickly to get us back on the right path.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I did love the one guy from, I can't think of his name, from Insider Advantage, the polling guy that said, don't pay attention to the exit polls today coming out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're always wrong.
He said they're always, goes, one thing not to do, because I know that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Throughout the afternoon.
Right.
I remember in 2000, I was doing my afternoon show at our flagship station, WBAP, and there was one sports guy going up and down the hallway going, well, Democrats win, Democrats win, Democrats win, all the exit polling, Democrats win, Democrats win. That was November of 2000.
Didn't work out that way. Yeah,
he was a Democrat. He was so happy at that point. And then we didn't see him for a couple of days after.
So if you look at it here, looking at the map on the electoral count, if he takes Michigan and Wisconsin, because we're assuming Pennsylvania and Arizona won't be reporting their final tallies tonight. They've both, in fact, said as much, officials from each state there. But if he wins Michigan and Wisconsin and also, you look at the Electoral College and where it is now, then it's possible he does, if he wins, he gets to 270 without them, and that it could be called tonight. We'll see. In fact, most people I've talked to don't expect it to be called tonight, but again, we'll see.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.